to them, I said, you can't send me back to the world because the world is a horrible, cruel, ugly place full of evil people, and it's just, why would you send me back there? And they said, well, there is that element in the world, but the world is also full of beauty and goodness and love and really fine people. And I said, well, that wasn't my experience. And they said, well, that's right, that wasn't your experience, because that's what you are on the inside will attract the experience of life around you, so that if you're loving on the inside, you'll attract loving people to you. And if you look for beauty, you'll find beauty. But if you are cruel on the inside, you're going to find cruelty. And if you're looking for ugliness, you'll certainly find ugliness in the world. So everything that I brought up, they defeated. My final really big argument was, I said, you can't send me back to the world because I'll die in the world of a broken heart. Because I said to them, nobody's ever known me or loved me or cared about me the way that you do. And I can't live without this. And they said, haven't you learned, they said to me, haven't you learned anything? Don't you know that we've always been with you, that we've always been around you and known you and cared about you, and we always will be with you? And I said, well, I never saw you before. I never talked to you before. I never knew you were there. How will I know you back in the world? Will I be able to see you? Will I be able to talk to you? And they said, no. I said, well, then, when I get back there, how long is it going to be before I think you're not with me? And I'll feel alone like I did before. They said, well, if you pray, sometimes you might just know in your heart that we're with you. And that sometimes, not when you want it, but when we feel like you need it, we'll let you know that we're around. And I said to them, do you promise that? And they said, yes. And I said, each of you promise me that you will be with me and let me know that you're with me. And so they did. And I said, I can go back if you'll be with me forever. And they said, we are. And then I was back.
And when you were back, what was your circumstance?
I was like a fish out of water, gasping for air. And the pain that I had been in earlier was, I was returned right back to that same messed up body. And I was gasping for breath. And immediately, the nurse who'd been in the room a little bit earlier came back into the room and said, a doctor has arrived at the hospital, and we're going to take you to surgery. And they evicted my wife from the room, and they prepared me for surgery. And as I passed her on the gurney on the way to surgery, I looked at her and I said, everything's going to be good from now on. And she just cried more because she thought, this is like some, brave words. She didn't realize that I really meant that.
Right.
And when I was in the recovery area after the surgery, this was now on Sunday morning, she came and saw me, and she said, Howard, and I said, it's all love. And she said, I love you. And I said, I know you love me, but I said, it's all love. And she said, well, there's people that love you. And I said, I know there's people that love me, but you don't understand. It's about love. That's what it's all about. And she said, oh, that's nice, dear. And I said, it's huge. I said, it's bigger than the whole ocean, and you've got to go into the ocean to experience the love. And she said, you need to get some rest, dear. And I realized that this was going to be very difficult trying to explain this to anyone.
Indeed.
And so from that day on, I tried to tell her what had happened to me. And she had a great deal of difficulty at first, for about a year or two, believing me. But now I think she does believe me.
So you proceeded, obviously, to change your life. You became ordained. And I take it by then she knew you were pretty serious.
Yeah, but this was a long process. I mean, I went through a
Sure.
while of being a religious fanatic and managed to drive everybody away from me and off religion. I probably did more damage, during my fanatical period than many people do in a lifetime, trying to convert people, which doesn't work.
Reverend, I'm kind of curious, and I have to ask for the audience, how do you know that all of this wasn't just a tortured dream from somebody who had passed out in a terrible, painful, physical condition? What makes you know that it was real?
Right. Immediately upon gaining consciousness, that was the first thing that I began to think about.
Sure.
And I knew that I knew that something had happened to me that was really, really important, and I needed to pay attention to it. But the problem was that I knew that if I were to accept what I had experienced, I was going to have to totally change my entire life, which I really didn't want to do because I'd spent 38 years working very hard to create a life, and now it was all in jeopardy. And that seemed like a really bad idea. Why change everything?
Right.
But on the other hand,
unless I'm absolutely sure this was real.
But on the other hand, the angels and Jesus did reappear to me after the experience, and they did things that saved my life afterwards, and it became basically impossible for me, because they were intervening in my life in miraculous ways,
to do anything else.
Because it's like, I can't deny it.
Well, that would do it all right. I suppose otherwise you might eventually talk yourself into the fact that it had been just a bad dream of some sort, and revert to the easier way of living here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
But you say they came again.
Yeah.
That would do it. That would do it. And so, in a long process, then you entered the you entered a seminary, I guess.
Well,
right?
First I discovered church and was in church for a while and thought that church was made up of a bunch of fumbling, ordinary human beings, but they were pursuing something really worthwhile, and over a period of years decided I really wanted to be a part of that.
Well, what? And then you wrote a book about it.
Yeah, last year a publisher from England called me out of the clear blue sky and asked me to write a book, so I did. It was kind of fun.
What an incredible story. Absolutely an astounding story. And I've never heard anybody tell one like it. I want to thank you for being here tonight, and I'm probably going to sit and talk to my audience about this now and see what they have to say, but it's a remarkable story. And by the way, again, your book got 5 stars at Amazon.com.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that.
Oh, well, I just took a look myself. It's very well reviewed, Reverend. So, listen, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for telling the story. And as I told you, I'm getting reactions on the computer, wild reactions in every direction. I imagine we're going to get that on the phone, too. So, bless you, and thank you for being here tonight, sir.
Thank you, Art. It was a real pleasure talking with you.
Good night.